The premier event for infection prevention and control is coming to San Antonio this June. APIC's annual conference brings you the latest research, innovative products, and practical knowledge to help you prevent infection. From inspiring keynotes to thought-provoking panel discussions, APIC 24 curates an extraordinary platform for knowledge exchange. Meet IPs from around the world who face the same daily challenges as you. If you work in infection prevention and control, you don't want to miss this event. Learn more and register to join us in person or virtually at annual.apic.org.
You are listening to the 5-Second Rule podcast presented by APIC, the Association for Professionals in Infection Control and Epidemiology. This podcast is produced by the APIC Communications Committee and is intended to be a conversation between our hosts and professionals practicing in the infection prevention and control industry. You will learn and be entertained, but most of all, we hope you will be inspired by our community and the work of our peers. And now, on to the show.
Welcome to the 5-Second Rule podcast. We are your hosts. I am Kelly Holmes, and my preferred pronouns are she, her.
And I'm Lerenza Howard, and my preferred pronouns are she, her.
Hi, Lerenza. How are you doing?
Hi, Kelly. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. I'm excited to kick off this new year of podcasts with you.
Absolutely. It's amazing how fast time flies. We've been doing this for a year now.
I know. Time has flown by. It has been so much fun, and I'm excited to see what the year brings. I'm very excited to introduce our guest today. We are joined by Dr. Tania Bubb, APIC's 2024 president. Tania has worked as an infection preventionist since 2006 at major academic medical centers with responsibilities spanning the continuum of care. She's served both her local and national APIC Board of Directors. She also has co-chaired APIC's Health Inequities and Disparities Taskforce. Happy New Year and welcome to the show, Tania.
Thank you so much, Kelly and Lerenza. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
Thank you. It is such a pleasure to have you here. And I am so excited for you on this amazing opportunity to now take over the reins of being the president of APIC. So tell us, Dr. Bubb, about some of the initiatives you intend to implement or promote while in leadership.
Lerenza, I am completely excited about this opportunity and humbled by it too. I don't take the responsibility lightly, and I'm hoping to serve my constituents, which are you all, the IP members of the Association for Professionals in Infection Control and Epidemiology, to the best of my ability. Some of the initiatives that I'm hoping to move forward in my presidency this year is the first and foremost is advancing APIC's strategic priorities. So those things that we have set forward and are in motion already, as well as advance health equity across the continuum of care. As Kelly has already mentioned, I co-chaired the Health Inequities and Disparities Taskforce. That was a big challenge for me, as it's not something that I'd previously had background experience in, but learned a lot with the task force members who were wonderful. And I think that it is the thing that IPs really need to focus on in the now and in the future.
I agree with that statement very much, Dr. Bubb. I think that looking at the inequalities and health disparities and moving the profession forward to counteract some of those things that we recognize are so important within our profession. So I really appreciate the work that you have done with the task force and look forward to where we're going in the future. So tell me a little bit about your journey to become the 2024 APIC president. What has helped you prepare for this role?
So like most of us, or I'm not sure if most of us at this point, but like many of us, I accidentally fell into the IP world. I started my career as a registered nurse, And while pursuing advanced degrees, my master's specifically in nursing, I came across a job at the institution that I was working for. And at that point, it was called Infection Control Practitioner. And I was like, this looks interesting, applied for it. And as they say, the rest is history. But I think that what has helped me prepare the most, particularly, is the volunteerism that I've done through my local and national APIC board. And at every point, every stage of my career or of my career growth, someone has asked me to join committees, to chair committees, to join boards. And I think that's an important concept that I want to take forward and extend backwards to my fellow IPs. And it's a message that I want to extend to everyone listening is when you're asked, step up someone else.
Absolutely, Dr. Bubb. And I think that is absolutely important to know because even with prior guests, there's that overarching trend of being a volunteer. Volunteerism is an absolute integral part in wanting to grow professionally and growing within APIC. So thank you for sharing that. In addition, I think that it is absolutely a great opportunity to show and reflect your character and what you can provide to the organization through that volunteerism. And one of the things that I would hope as well for APIC and the future outlook is for others to make a more intentional leap into the profession to definitely expose the profession and allow for it to be something that they intentionally seek to attain opportunities in. So with that, Dr. Bubb, what values are important to you when you think about your presidency and how you intend to lead the organization?
Lorenza, I think trust is the foundation of all relationships, and trust doesn't imply trust. It could also imply mistrust. So I think that trust leads all relationships. So I think that is a value that I think will be very instrumental for me and how I lead in the organization. Collaboration, respect, active listening, and not just a good listening, but great listening. And then valuing others and their lived experience and perspectives. And I think that's what makes IP so special is because I think we have a keen ability to do this either through nature or through nurture. I think some of us learn to do this on the job and some of us have this naturally. That's just the way of the bell curve of the world. And I think IPs hone in on being able to develop these skills in terms of trusting, collaborating, respecting others, being great listeners, and valuing lived experiences. Often that is how we relate to others in our healthcare facilities and how we get through to others in our influence of their practice.
I love that you brought that up, Tania. Could you give us an example of how you participate in active listening? What makes you a good listener? What can our audience take away to try to become a great listener?
That's a great question, Kelly. I am not always a great listener. I think that I'm striving to always be a great listener. There are times when my emotions get the best of me and I'm not even a good listener, but I'm always remembering to strive to be a great listener. I think active listening is really releasing what you think up front and taking in what another person is actually experiencing and saying to you and making sure that you are not having a response before they are finished with their statements, but rather that you are developing your response as they are laying out their statement or statements.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Dr. Bubb, I think that's absolutely integral because at times, us being human, we are led by our own biases and or assumptions while someone is providing feedback. So I think that I definitely concur that is an area that I also need to work better on active listening.
I love that point about practicing the pause that you mentioned. You do tend to have an emotional reaction to tense situations or just high stress situations in general. And so someone along the way told me it's helpful to have a cup of coffee in your hand or a water bottle. And before you respond, just go ahead and take a drink, take a sip, take a breath, and then process and respond. So that is a fantastic tip. Thank you for sharing it. I'm also very curious, what are you most looking forward to as you navigate your time as president? I know you're stepping your first foot into this very busy role. And I know in a lot of ways you'll be busy and a little more stressed possibly than usual. But as far as the pluses, what are you looking forward to as president?
I like challenges, Kelly. And so this challenge of the APIC presidency to me is one that I'm looking forward to enjoying the process. I am also looking forward to the challenge of moving APIC strategy on a national and sometimes global level, which I don't really get to do within my healthcare facility. In my healthcare facility, I move strategy on a healthcare facility level, but for APIC, the work is to really do it for the association and at a national level. I think that it's a different set of skills that are required to do that. And I do look forward to honing in on those skills and developing that acumen a bit more. I'm also looking forward to meeting new people and making connections that add value and making differences in lives, in their work lives at the very minimum.
Yes, Dr. Bubb, with making those connections, how do you foresee the incorporation of APIC's diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy? How do you foresee that being incorporated within your leadership?
In the past, the profession of infection prevention and control has largely been populated by nurses and probably still is. But I think that what has happened is that there's been an opening and a welcoming of other backgrounds. And I think that we need to keep moving towards that because we know that infection prevention and control spans so many different aspects. And the more diversity we have in terms of educational and career backgrounds within the field, the better prepared we are to deal with situations within our healthcare facilities.
I absolutely agree with that, Dr. Bubb. As someone who is a medical technologist by background and having a master's in healthcare administration, it definitely, I think that it's a great strategy for us to move the needle forward, as you were indicating, moving the profession forward. So with that, I know that you had the awesome pleasure of being right next to immediate past President Pat Jackson, and I can only imagine the wealth of knowledge that you've attained from being under her tutelage. So what have you learned about yourself from your time as president-elect to now president of APIC?
Working under the tutelage of Pat Jackson has been one of the better pleasures of my career. I think surprisingly too, Pat and I have had a longstanding relationship, but I don't think that we really knew each other. And I think through this past year, we've gotten to know each other very well. And Pat is such a mentor and an educator. She has made sure that I have the knowledge and the information that I need to move forward with this year in a constructive manner. She has also completely 1,000% put her support behind me. So she has appropriately now opened the gates for me to move forward while making it known that she is here to hold me up. And so I hope that I had done that for her too. And I think that she is the epitome of a graceful person, period.
Thank you for sharing that information, Dr. Bubb.
I love that too, Dr. Bubb. This is such a special time of year for Lerenza and I because it marks our 1-year anniversary with the podcast. So in January of 2023, we kicked it off with Pat, and then we had the National APIC Conference, and then following her on LinkedIn and seeing the initiatives come out from APIC. The year has gone by so fast, and it has been so much fun to see how she's represented our organization and brought so many wonderful things to the forefront. For you, it sounds like it's going to be 0 to 100 miles an hour in a few days here. So it's going to go fast. I surely hope that you enjoy it very much. And just as far as like work-life balance, because you have your day job and now you're going to be the 2024 APIC president, how do you plan to have that work-life balance?
Wow, I hadn't previously thought about this question.
Oh, sorry to spring that one on you.
But I think I'm dedicated to the cause, and I want to do a good job, and I want to show up for APIC and for the IPs that are the constituents of APIC. And so I will do whatever it takes to do that. And it's a year. So after the year, I'll have work-life balance.
You can take a vacation.
That's not good advice, but it is what I'm
But I
going
think
to
that that's
do.
the most authentic advice that you can provide, because especially in the field of infection prevention, realistically, sometimes there is that imbalance, unfortunately, but really finding those strategies to really connect with yourself and connect with whatever is important to you outside of the profession is absolutely integral. So thank you for that authentic response.
Absolutely, Lerenza. And now that you're saying like taking those moments, one of the things that I really enjoy doing is walking. I can walk forever and listening to podcasts, walking and listening to podcasts. So I think I'll continue doing that this year whenever I get the chance.
Absolutely. So thank you, Dr. Bubb, for coming and attending our show. And it's been a pleasure discussing the future outlook of your presidency. I absolutely look forward to what you will achieve and accomplish throughout your year of presidency. And I am so excited for you on this journey. So we ask each guest a set of questions. So the one question I would like to ask you is, what is something you wish someone told you at the beginning of your IP career?
I think it would be that you can enjoy and be in the moment while having your eyes on a future goal. The long and short of it is really just to enjoy and celebrate the small wins, appreciate the people in your life and the richness and value that they bring. A deep lesson that I think this nation and globally we learned is that in an instant, the world can change. And I think we learned that very acutely during the COVID 2020 pandemic, which taught us how fragile life and relationships and affiliations are. And enjoying the moment is necessary. And you can also be working towards the goal while enjoying the moment.
Oh, I love that, Dr. Bubb. It ties in so nicely with the comment that you made at the beginning about reaching out to your peers and asking them if they want to be involved, asking them to volunteer, getting them involved in the organization, and then just the trust and authenticity that you bring to the role. I hear it in your vision for 2024, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where this year takes us.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to serving as president this year.
Thank you, Dr. Bubb. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. I will definitely utilize your last point and internalize that for myself throughout this year, and really remaining within the moment and being present within the moment and celebrating those small wins. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, Dr. Bubb, and I look forward to your presidency.
Thank you so much, both Lerenza and Kelly. I enjoyed this time with you.
Thanks for listening to APIC's 5-Second Rule Show. We want to hear from you. Visit us at www.5secondruleshow.org. That's with the number 5, where you can contribute to the conversation. Make sure you subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to your podcasts. We're so appreciative of the hard work each of you do every day to make a safer world through infection prevention. Remember, IP stands for Important Person. You are awesome. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.